Why you don't feel close to God anymore. Sometimes, the hardest thing to admit is not that you've stopped believing. It's that you don't feel close anymore. You still pray. Sometimes, you still believe God is real. You still go to church. You still listen to worship music in the car. But something feels distant. Not dramatic. Not rebellious. Just quiet. Like a friendship that slowly grew less warm. And you don't even remember when it happened. Maybe tonight, you're lying in bed, and you can remember a season when God felt near, when prayer felt alive, when worship moved something in your chest, when scripture felt personal. And now, it feels like reading words through glass. You haven't walked away. You just don't feel what you used to feel. And that scares you a little. Because no one talks about this part. They talk about doubt. They talk about sin. They talk about falling away. But they don't talk much about slow emotional distance. The kind that creeps in while you are still trying. Maybe it happened gradually. Life got busy. Responsibilities grew. Stress layered itself quietly over your days. You didn't wake up and decide to be less close to God. You just got tired. And tiredness has a way of numbing things, even sacred things. I remember a small, ordinary moment. Sitting in church, everyone singing, the room warm with sound, and I was there physically, but inside, I felt like I was watching from far away, like I was observing faith, instead of participating in it. And the strange thing was, I still wanted God. I just couldn't feel Him. Maybe that's where you are. You still want Him. You're just not sure where the closeness went. Sometimes we confuse feeling with presence. When the feelings are strong, we assume God is near. When the feelings are quiet, we assume He has stepped back. But feelings move. They rise and fall. With sleep, stress, hormones, workload, grief, God does not. There's a psalm where David says, "Why, my soul, are you downcast? Why so disturbed within me?" He doesn't accuse God. He talks to his own soul. That tells me something. Even someone described as a man after God's own heart had seasons where his inner world felt heavy, not evil, not rebellious, just heavy. And yet, those psalms are full of honesty, full of confusion, full of longing, not full of distance. Sometimes closeness is loud. Sometimes it is quiet. Sometimes it feels like fire. Sometimes it feels like sitting beside someone in silence. And maybe what you're experiencing is not absence, but a different kind of nearness. Elijah once expected God in the wind, in the earthquake, in the fire, but God came in a whisper. Not dramatic, not overwhelming, just quiet. And maybe the reason you don't feel close is because you're waiting for wind while God is whispering. Or maybe you're just exhausted. We've talked about that before. Exhaustion doesn't just drain energy, it dulls perception. When you're tired enough, even joy feels muted. Even love feels distant. That doesn't mean it's gone. It means your nervous system is overwhelmed. And sometimes, what we label spiritual distance is actually emotional depletion. You've been carrying too much. You've been holding too many responsibilities. You've been thinking too much, and your heart has gone quiet to survive. There's a verse in Isaiah that says, "A bruised reed He will not break, and a smoldering wick He will not snuff out." That image has always felt gentle to me. Not a roaring flame, a smoldering wick. Still there. Small, fragile, but not extinguished. Maybe your closeness to God doesn't feel like a roaring fire right now. Maybe it feels like a small ember. That does not mean He walked away. It may just mean you are in a quieter season. Relationships change over time. They deepen. They become less adrenaline-driven and more rooted. Less emotional intensity, more steady presence. It doesn't always feel the same, but different does not mean distant. Sometimes closeness matures into something less dramatic, more grounded, more honest, less dependent on constant emotional affirmation. You are allowed to miss how it used to feel. You are allowed to say, "I wish it felt warmer." That is not failure. That is longing. And longing itself is a form of closeness. If you truly did not care, you would not be listening to this. You would not be wondering. You would not feel the ache. The ache is evidence, not of distance, but of desire. And desire is not something God despises. It's something He meets gently. Maybe tonight, instead of trying to recreate a feeling, you can sit quietly and say something simple. "I don't feel close right now, but I'm still here." No performance. No forcing emotion. Just presence. Sometimes that is enough. Sometimes closeness returns slowly, like warmth in cold hands. Gradual. Om.